Yes, my prayer today is that He fills you with a passion for righteousness. Lord, my prayer today is that Jesus will guide you through every storm. Yes, every storm. Lord, every storm. This is my prayer today.
I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out, righteousness. Welcome, everybody, to the Trust in the Lord Hour. I'm your host, as you very well know, for the past 15 years. And let's see what's happened in the next 15 years. We can call those years the Hezekiah years. We got an extraordinary broadcast. I have been in the midst of some of the most powerful teaching of my 40 years as a pastor. You say, Pastor man, you don't like I've been teaching for 40 years. Well, I got started when I was 7. Well, 10. I got started when I was 10. Yeah, how about that? At any rate, the teaching that we're now doing, which is the parallelism, launched out of what Solomon has written about understanding, how great it is, and wisdom. And I said to you this, Brother Beck, out in Arizona, I said to you that if you would obey, and I'm just calling your name, Brother Beck, I'm not chiding you. I said, I'm talking to everybody. I said that if you would follow the instruction, now listen to me very carefully. If you will follow the instructions of the teachings of Solomon, the world's wisest man, he was wise with God's wisdom, not with some sort of AI kind of wisdom, and the world's richest man as well, but that if you were to follow him, that you would catch wisdom and understanding. And so for 15 years, I am convinced, Elder Ramos, that as a result of our 15-year journey in Proverbs, obviously, just by osmosis, we have become wiser, and we have developed a greater sense of understanding, and we have become blessed as a result of that as well. But we're at a level now, Elder Ramos, I do not believe that we could be at the level of where we're teaching now, where we just going through run of the mill of the Bible. And all things are possible with God. Let me just say that. All things are possible with him. But I believe there's a direct track that God had in store when he had me start preaching Proverbs back in 2008. But what I want to try to express now is that as a result of that, we have reached not a plateau, but a place on God's mountain of wisdom and understanding that has brought us to a very powerful place. And there's several concerns I have about that with respect to the Shemites being prophesied to be slaves, that they're the Jews, and the Hamites being prophesied to be slaves, they're the so-called black people or the African Americans. That those two are parallel, and the fulfillment of the slavery of the Jews in Egypt was 400 years, led out by Moses, given the law, and given a promised land. The parallel between the Shemite and the Hamite is that the Hamites were slaves for 250 years here in America, in quasi-slavery for another 150 years, as of 1619 to 2019, for 400 years. And as quietly as I can say this, that I have been sent to lead them through the wilderness into the promised land called Atla, formerly known as Harlem, the community formerly known as Harlem. That is the promised land. And so this parallelism, and then the thing that I'm going to keep saying this and repeating it, you're going to get tired of hearing me say it. But ultimately what Almighty God's going to do is that he's going to bring the Hamite man, who is the lowest on the world's totem pole right now. He's called the black man, or in many ways the African or African American. That God's going to bring him to the same level, parallel to the economic, intellectual, spiritual, and world global power of the Jews. He's going to bring him there. The parallelism means that the black man has got to rise to that level. That doesn't take anything away from the Jews for that to happen, not at all. In fact, it increases all humanity. Because at that point, both Japheth and Jew and black man will be in terms of those that are blessed of God, at a powerful point. So the parallelism it brings us to the point. I do not think I could have gotten to this teaching. And I'm going to announce also an answer I got from the Lord back in April, on the 24th of April. But we could not have gotten here had we not been consistently teaching the Trust in the Lord hour over the past 15 years. And that I want to try to express as best I possibly can. There's no way I could be teaching this parallelism as I'm teaching now. So I've raised up my book, the Tanakh, and I put it aside in my Bibles here. The Tanakh is the Jewish Bible, the rabbinical teachings, and it has also the prophets and the Pentateuch verses, chapters as well, books as well. And I put them side by side as parallelism. And I absolutely know that we could not be here. And for those of you who are having some sense that this is a blessing, that we're at this level of teaching now, we could not have gotten here. We would have missed this had we not in other words, you'd have to dig 15 years into Proverbs to get this. So my question that I raised earlier in the teachings, where are we going to be 5 years from now? Where are we going to be 10 years from now, notwithstanding the forerunner aspect of Elder Shenaniah Jonah Hartfield, that he has gone ahead and become a forerunner of all of us with his death this past week. But having said that, we are still at a higher level than we have ever been. But this is not the plateau. We're still climbing. And the prophecy of parallelism means that we're going to rise as a people to the level of that the Jews presently enjoy economically, parallel. The power that the Jews have as a dominance into global, if you will, powers, the intellectual powers that the Jews have, that we're going to rise to that same parallel height because of the slavery, because of the promised land. How many people will believe that? Sister Angela Kane, how many people would actually believe that that's going to happen? And one might also ask, Pastor Manny, you got to be out of your mind if you think that, well, first of all, I don't think, but you go ahead and I'll let you quote that. If you think that you're going to be able to raise the Hamite black people who are African Americans and every other kind of, if you will, misfit, raise them to an economic development level that the Jews are presently enjoying right now? No, I am not going to do it. Jesus is going to do it. I'm just the announcer. I don't even play the sport. I'm just the announcer. I'm just the man calling the shots. But Jesus will do it. And it brings us to where I want to go in our second part of this teaching, is that the last part of the parallelism between the Jew and the Hamite, or the Shemite and the Hamite, is the Son of God. So here, let's go over this way. Number one of parallelism, both the Shemites and Hamites were slaves, all right? Shemites for 400 years, and I'll quasi do Hamites for 400 years. That's two, if you will, parallels. Is that right? Parallel number three is that they were both given a promised land. The Shemites were given the promised land of Israel. That was given to them. And which the prophet, and all that's biblical. To date, everything I said is biblical, written in God's word, written in God's blood. Biblical. Now, where we are at the level where the parallelism it is not biblical, but yet or anointed of God. It just has not been written in the holy text, but have been spoken by God's servant. That's me. That is that the Hamites have a promised land, and that promised land is called Atla. Now, it's the land formerly known as Harlem here in New York City, but that's their promised land. So that's a fourth parallelism, I would think. And the fifth parallelism, and maybe I'll make a diagram of this that might make it a lot easier for all of us to comprehend. The fifth parallelism is that the Jews, because of their slavery, they were given the privilege of giving birth to the Son of God, who was Jesus, born in Bethlehem, because of their slavery. The parallelism number 5 and final parallelism is that the Hamites will be privileged because of their slavery to be the people to whom Jesus will return when he comes back again. And that completes the entire parallelism. That's the entire parallelism. The area where the question was raised, Pastor Man, do you think that people are going to listen to what you say and actually believe what you're saying? Well, let me put it to you in this regard. The Bible speaks, Solomon writes about understanding. David, his father, writes about understanding as well. And the issue is that it takes understanding to understand why God used slavery as the cradle of the birth of his son. You could use slavery in the 400 years as the cradle of the first month of the birth of the Son of the Lord Jesus Christ. Why did he use that? And when he spoke slavery, or that the Jews would be slaves, to my father Ham, by the way, in Egypt for 400 years, brutally treated, brutalized, probably castrated, probably hung, probably raped and robbed and oppressed and beaten to death, and all those things happened to the Jews while they were in Egypt. You would have to have a level of understanding that passes understanding in terms of where we know it to understand why did God use that, because it was only called for. And no human would do that. No human would send a group of people into slavery for no reason whatsoever. No human would do that. No human, well, no reasonable human, let me put it that way, or maybe some. But you would have to, why did Jesus do that? And I got to Tanakh here, and I would welcome I'd welcome any dialogue now between the Jew and the, I got to the Tanakh, and I got it beside the Bible, put it beside Bible and the Tanakh. I would welcome conversation, the discussion, the dialogue with any rabbi regarding the advent of Jewish slavery in Egypt under my father Ham. And I would welcome dialogue between any Jew, any rabbi rather, and any theologian who would want to debate this matter of the parallelism between black people and Jews. And the prophecy that black people and the Hamites are going to reach the same level that the Jews have reached in global dominance, economics, global development, intellectual development, and also will be the cradle, will be the people to whom Jesus will return to. Anybody who wants to debate that, you can actually come on the broadcast and we can debate it if you like. But the primary issue here is the level of understanding. And as I stated earlier when I opened up, that were I not teaching Proverbs for the past 15 years, I could not have come to this understanding. And the other item, of course, is that when we look at where Hamites, that's black people, they call themselves African Americans, that they're going in a totally wrong direction. And I pointed out how even Dr. King is as eloquent as he was poetically, just parenthetically here, Dr. King could have been a rapper because he spoke very eloquently, and he spoke with a sense of prose, and he was very eloquent. In another life, he could have been a rapper, because that's what rappers do. They rhyme and they rap, and and by the way, rappers don't use a melodic voice to do their thing. They can, but Dr. King could have been a rapper, and I don't mean that as something positive for him. But what I do want to say is that the courage it takes. Well, I don't think it takes a lot of courage. Just when you know the truth is the truth. Dr. King led people, my people, in the wrong direction. Direction of civil rights. While humans are entitled to civil rights, that is human rights. I would better explain. And then a government should have a system by which it governs its people. But Dr. King led people in the wrong direction. Now that takes, that right there could cause 1,000, tens of thousands of people to never ever want to listen to me again. But it's true. It is true. It's true, and the way I would, before you sign me off and just reject me and never listen to me again, ask yourself if what I've said about the parallelism of the Hamite and the Shemite, if that is true. So far, we've met the criteria of both being slaves. We've met that for the period of years. We've met those two criteria. We've also met the criteria now of the prophecy of slavery by Almighty God, first through Noah and then through Abraham. So we've met that. We've met at least three criteria that are biblical, that you don't have to believe. They're just in the Bible. You can reject them if you like, but they're in the Bible. The part that would be difficult for many people, will not be difficult, but the part that many people want to raise an argument about is Atlah the promised land, the way Israel was the promised land for the Jews? Is Atlah the promised land? That would be something that you might want to argue, that Atlah is not the promised land, and God didn't give a promised land to the slaves here in America. Okay, he gave a promised land. So the parallelism, you could argue, and you'd be wrong, but you could argue that the parallelism stopped when with the slavery for the 400 years, 250 years slavery, 150 years quasi-slavery in America, that the parallelism stopped there. There is no promised land for black people. There is no promised land for black people to parallel the promised land for the Jews. And though Jesus came in the cradle of slavery and born in the prophecy of the promised land, Jesus, when he returns, will not be returning to a so-called promised land for black people. You could at that point, you could argue that is what is what. You could do that. You'd be wrong if you deny it. But there's only two more components left. One is the understanding for people to have the understanding that Atlah is the promised land. So having said that, and that the promised land, that Almighty God, that Atlah is the promised land, and then the major would be when Jesus returns, he's coming back to Harlem. He's coming back to Atlah, formerly known as Harlem. Now that takes a lot of understanding. Then within the context of all that, you'll have to say, well, all of our religious leaders so far have been leading us in the wrong direction. Dr. King, or you could say, Nelson Mandela. And surely with Nelson Mandela, it's an easier journey to know that Nelson Mandela was not led of God. First of all, he did not believe in a supreme being. He believed in the communal. He believed that the communal essence of people, that was God. When people came together on one mind, one accord, that itself was God, a community. They call it communism rather than theoism. They call it communism in a broad sense, that the collective people themselves were God. Now, I have to tell you, though Nelson Mandela was born a Zulu, the Zulus have and I was able to sit in the University of Cape Town for a week or so, listening to Zulu theologians explain how they felt about God. The Zulu beliefs, the religious beliefs of Zulus is that man, and let me try this because it's been several years now since I've taught this, that man is in essence of himself a presence. And then surrounding him is the community or the family of people around him. And then last on the criteria poll is God. I think that's the way the Zulus, what I'm trying to say is that God is not, God, the Zulu religion, which is Nelson Mandela was born into, makes man first, family or community second, and God third. That is the basic. Now, I had a better structure of the teaching of it going back years ago, but primarily we believe that God is first and then man. They're just the opposite of what the Zulus believe. And you can check with any Zulu, or if you have, you can Google it if you like, a Zulu religion, whatever Zulus, the Zulu religion. The Zulus are the people that were indigenous to South Africa for many, many centuries until the Afrikaners came down to Transvaal from Europe and began to occupy that land. And they fought several battles, and oftentimes the Zulus would beat the Afrikaners, that's the white people. The black people would beat them, and they came back and they fought again, and finally the Afrikaners overcame the Zulus and apartheid South Africa. So Nelson Mandela did not even believe in the Zulu religion. He believed in the, if you will, communism, Marxism. So it shouldn't be a stretch for you. You say, well, he set people free. Did he really? You know, he did. He went to prison, and now South Africa is under black rule. You know, you could say that if you like. What you cannot say is that Jesus inspired him or that Jesus led him. You can't say that because he didn't acknowledge it. He does not acknowledge Jesus. And Jesus does not play second fiddle to anybody. I can tell you that right now. But going back to Dr. King, so that, and I'm saying that he was leading people in the wrong direction. That's a lot to say. It's a lot to say because he's been so widely publicized. He's been so widely promoted. He's been so widely accepted that people just like, you know, can I say this to you? And I don't mean to in a way to defame anyone at this point. I just want to try to make a point. There are issues now philosophically about Donald John Tribulation Trump, that he just lies profusely, and he lies and lies, and even everybody knows he's lying. But there's a philosophical note attached by those who study such personalities or such phenomenons, is that if you say a lie long enough, people will believe it, even though they know it's a lie. And and Trump is proficient at just lying. He'll say the same lie over and over again, and people know he's lying. But after he lies so many times, actually, people began to believe it as the truth. So I what I want to try to express here is that because what happened with Dr. King and the media in America is that he just kept getting promoted, kept getting promoted. And so people thought that he was sent of God, but he wasn't. It was Mahatma Gandhi. You know, there's one other thing I'd like to say as well, and this is perhaps adverse against the Jews, and I'm a Zionist in that regard. I don't hate my Jewish brother. I know the parallel between the two of us, but let me say this. Jewish people have promoted rap music and pornography. Jewish people have promoted rap music, and so much so, and they've told people that it is good. Rap music is vile. It may be poetic or whatever, but because it's been so widely promoted, Jews have put so much money behind rap music, and people like Jay-Z and other rappers, and they promoted it and promoted it and promoted it to the point where it's like Donald Trump's lies. Donald Trump's lies, and everybody thinks it's so wonderful. They know he's lying, he's told those lies so often that people believe it. Well, that's what has happened with rap music. Jewish money, not black people's money, because they didn't have any, have put so much money behind the rap music, is that people think it's good because it's promoted as good. They get big money deals, they get wide publicity, and so when it gets promoted like that, the way Dr. King got promoted, people think it's good. And I'll go one further. Jewish people have put a lot of money behind pornography as well. They put a lot of money behind that in the film industry. It would, you know, with some quiet, lesser pornography, and then add the worst type of pornography. Jewish people have promoted that. That doesn't mean I hate Jews. I'm just telling you, I just tell the truth on anybody. But Jews are my brothers, and I plan to lead the Hamite people to the same level, or at least make the announcement that Moses made, that God has made about Hamites and Shemites being parallel, and the end of all things wrapping up with Hamites by Jesus coming the second time to a place called Atlah, formerly known as Harlem. So I'm not a Jew hater. I just tell the truth on it. But if the Jewish people did not put that money behind rap music, people would, let me tell you, let's put it this way. If you got enough money in America and you can promote yourself, you can become somebody, but it takes money. If you got money, listen, most people become president or become mayor, or for instance, like Eric Adams, that boy wouldn't be nothing had it not been for that Jewish money that put him in office here in New York City. And any politician, when you become president of the United States of America, that means you have sold your soul to the devil. That's just the case. Let's just be real about it. Everybody knows if you ain't got no money, if you don't have money to promote yourself, to get yourself out there, to get your story out there, if you don't have money, I don't care how eloquent you are, how altruistic you are, how educated you are, how committed you are to the Constitution, you ain't going nowhere. You got to have money. You got to buy that office. Everybody knows that the office of the president is paid for by big money donors, not by people who have an altruistic or biblical or spiritual characteristic constitutional point of view. That ain't how you become president. So Dr. King was going in the wrong direction, but he had lots of promotion. He had big money. He had the media behind him. It was novel to them at the time. At one point, strange as it's kept, at one point the media wanted to get behind me. I guess they say I blew it. No, one point here in Harlem, but I had the media, those microwave trucks parked out there where you see those vans now, and our sanctuary was filled with media from all over everywhere, television, newspaper. They were behind me until, what happened? Until Obama. And then even after that, after the liberal media left me because I didn't support Obama, the conservative media picked me up, and I was on, Fox News. I was on all the programs. The media was behind me until then when I turned against Trump. Not nobody wants to have anything. Nobody wants to promote me, so I'm fooling around. There were 300 or 400 people out there somewhere in the hinterlands, but I'm good to go. I'll take that 300. Don't matter, because I know that one can chase 1,000 and 300 can chase 1 billion. I know that. So I ain't worried about the media. But I want to go back to the understanding that Dr. King was going in the wrong direction. And so that's where we are. Does it encourage me to get up and say this? I enjoy this. I think that the period of my life that's most enjoyable is when I'm teaching God's word. So I enjoy this. Do I know that people look at me and think that I have absolutely lost my mind, that black people ain't gonna never rise to the level of Jews? I would ask you, if someone says that, ask them why. You don't think black people are capable? Are you a racist? Are you prejudiced? Or you don't think that black people are capable? Do you don't think that God can do it? Are you? They were, and then go back again and point up the parallelism between the prophesied slavery, the actual lived out slavery, and the promised land. And I didn't hear you'd never heard of anybody else tell as a promised land. And by the way, I need to distinguish that the promised land, same as it was for the Jews, that a mixed multitude went out of Egypt on that Passover night morning, and that Atlah is for the righteous. You don't have to be just black or Hamite. It's righteous, but it's based in God fulfilling the Hamite. And when Jesus comes back, he's coming back to Atlah, the land where the people shall walk barefoot, because the land is holy ground. That's the prophecy. That's what God's got. That's the message I've got. This parallelism teaching that I have. And I want to focus more on the fact of the parallelism of the Son of God. But it takes great understanding. And Solomon writes that by wisdom and understanding, the world itself, creation itself, has its foundation in understanding. And before I go to my break, I want to say to you as well that why did God prophesy that the Jews would be slaves? Genesis chapter 15, verse 30, just out of nowhere, bam, he tells Abraham, your people are going to be slaves and going to do it for 400 years. And not only that, but they're going to get ill-treated for 400 years. You have to remember, Moses was born a slave. Why did he do that? There was no, why would God do that? It passes your understanding. But I'm here to clarify, to tell you, that's the only way we were going to get the Savior of God. First, a people had to suffer in slavery according to the covenants of the universe and the covenant of the great judge of both the universe and eternity. God said slavery was the way. Now, you may not understand that. You may not understand. In fact, I know you don't understand it, but you can't deny it's the Bible. And without that slavery, we don't get Moses, because Moses was born a slave. And you can argue and say what you want, that Hamites said not the same thing, and it ain't going to happen. Well, it happened to Jews, but God only did it once. No, the Son of God is coming back, and he needs a second group of slaves through which to plant his feet on planet Earth again. But it takes understanding. It takes understanding. And I'll tell you this, and very few people have it. And I'm going to come back, I'm going to take a break and I'll be right back, but let me just wrap up with this, is that the people I now pastor, they have an understanding. And those who don't fully understand all that I say and do, they have a spirit of obedience, which is equivalent to understanding. But if you're out there with the promotion of the way the Jews promoted rap music, turned people absolutely crazy. I'll tell you what, listen, the killings of black youth was minuscule in terms of a national phenomenon. Black rappers started killing when I do declare the East Coast, West Coast, Suge Knight, Tupac Shakur. What? But it took that process of killing, and because that's what the music promotes. I don't care whether Tupac Shakur is talking about his mama or not. That process seeded death, hatred, and a people black people are already down on themselves. They already hate each other because they're black. They already hate each other because of their hair. They already hate each other for those reasons. But rap music stimulated killing right now that goes on in Chicago. And I do declare, it's just off the chain. But it was promoted. And you have to understand that. You say that to someone who's, you got some person who's down like Logic or something who's half white, half black, making money off the same evil. But it got promoted. So you don't get anywhere in America without the promotion. What I want to say to you is that God has sent me. And I know that one can chase 1,000. There's 25 people listening to me right now. It's greater than the entire Catholic Church if 25 people listen to me right now. Anyway, let me take a break. I'm going way past my time here today because I'm excited about this, having the privilege of doing this. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. I'm coming right back, and I think we got Precious LaFleur going to close us out at the top end of the broadcast, along with Elijah, Captain David Lewis, and Minister Holnaker. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back.
I'm calling from Clarksville, West Virginia, and I'm an African American woman. And I saw the YouTube video, and I'm of God. Where two or more gathered shall be done. I'm claiming the name of Jesus. Said God will not let your church be taken. Obama was never of God, and he was a wolf in sheep's clothing. And the things that are going on in our government now is of his doing and Biden's, and it's not going to last because we are the call. We are the chosen. I stand in the gap with you, and you take it all the way to the state Supreme Court and U.S. Supreme Court. If you have, God's going to restore, and he's not going to let this church fall. So I thank you and Pastor Mandy for presenting this on YouTube, because me living in West Virginia never would have known this was going on. And as a Christian, a child of living God, I never would have been able to pray for you. But now I know what to pray for. And now you're in my prayers. You guys, God bless you. You're going to keep this church. God's not going to let it fall. Good night. Bye.
The king is coming. The king is coming. The king is coming. The king is coming. King Jesus is coming, everybody. King Jesus. King Jesus is coming. King Jesus is coming. King Jesus is coming. King Jesus is coming. Good God Almighty, good God Almighty, good God Almighty, good God Almighty. With all his power, and all of his glory, and all of his power, and all of his glory. King Jesus, King Jesus, King Jesus, King Jesus, King Jesus, King Jesus, King Jesus is coming. He told me to tell you. He told me to tell you, and I will not be disobedient.
To lift us up from off the ground, to bring the proud and mighty down, to heal our hearts when we don't understand. Yes, he's big enough to prophesy the future. Yes, he's big enough to cleanse the darkest sin, to stop the pain, to pay the price, to make the perfect sacrifice, that though we die, that we can live again. Yes, he's big enough. Yes, he's big enough.
Let me ask you a question with respect to this teaching of parallelism between the Shemites and the Hamites. And the Shemites have been fulfilled. The birth of Christ, the blood of Jesus, the salvation has all been made available. Now, coming along that same parallel path are the Hamites, starting with slavery, starting with prophecy. And the prophecy of the Hamites was first, back in Genesis chapter 9, with Noah and Ham and his son Canaan. That was the first prophecy. The second prophecy, and the second and only other prophecy in the entire universe by God of slavery, was the Shemites with Abraham in Genesis chapter 15, verse 13. So the first shall be the last in terms of the cradle of the birth of the Lord Jesus Christ and his return. So the first prophecy regarding slavery will be the last. And the last prophecy, which was the Shemites, slavery in Egypt, was the first. Okay, that's not the question. The question, however, I just want to lay that on you. The question is it possible, what I'm saying, let's say you just write me out of the picture and all of a sudden these words are just falling out of nowhere. Is it possible that God can actually take the Hamite people where they are presently right now, give them a promised land, raise them up, make them intellectually, morally, spiritually, financially, economically parallel to Jewish people? Is it possible? And I think if you're going to be honest, you have to say yes. So at the very least, whether you believe me or have the capacity to understand me, it is possible. And it's not highly impossible with God. Is that right? I mean, what I'm saying is, you may not want to believe it from me. You may not want to receive it from me. Okay, I'm good with that. We'll have to fall out. But You do know that it's possible. Let me ask you if you agree to, if I can get you to agree that it's possible, can I just ask you one other question? And then I promise not to inflict myself upon you any further. The other question is this. If it's possible, then would the way that God would do it, that he would raise up a black politician or a black governor maybe, a Hamite politician or a Hamite president, and that's the way that God would cradle the second coming of the Lord Jesus Christ. It would be through a president or through a politician. Is that the pattern which God used in the first in the first completion of the parallelization? Was it a politician that God used? Was it a political office that God used? Was it a governmental structure that God used? Or was it a civil rights leader that God used? And I think that if you're going to answer the question, you'll probably answer it in a negative on all of those. God didn't use that to get the Jews to where they were, to be the cradle and the promised land. He used a former slave himself who was an irate, if you will. And even Jesus himself had no particular association with the political structure in Israel or the religious order of Pharisees and Sadducees, all that religious crowd. He had no association with them, and neither did John the Baptizer. So it would be highly unusual for God to use the President of the United States to set a people free. Besides, President of the United States, while I respect our Constitution and our voting process, the President of the United States, he's there for a couple of years, and usually got there a lot of time through ill gain. But it would be highly unusual for God to use the president of this state or any other state, for that matter, any other nation. It would be unbiblical. Everybody that God ever used, he used David as a king, but he certainly didn't use politicians as such. He used David because of Saul, but besides, with Saul, God didn't really want to have a king or a president. It would bother God that they wanted. So they wanted Saul because he was tall, he was handsome, I guess he was handsome, I don't know. But when they told Samuel that they want a president, Samuel cried. He told God, and Samuel went to God, and God told Samuel, don't worry about it, Samuel. It's not you that don't want me. They want a president because they don't want me to rule over them. And if you know anything about biblical history, Evangelist Brown, you'll notice that most of the kings, only 2 or 3 of the whole king of the whole 4th century that they had kings, only did what God wanted to do, because God, the king was not the way, the president was not the way. And so you step back, a person such as myself, I look at, so we got Sylvester, whoever he is down in Houston, is the mayor of Houston. Mayor of the 4th largest city. We got a black Brandon Johnson. Before that, we had Lori Lightfoot, the mayor. Before that, we had Harold Washington, mayor of Chicago, 3rd largest city in America. Tom Bradley. And now we got whoever it is out there, mayor of Los Angeles now, black woman, mayor of Los Angeles. So we got a black man, mayor of New York City. We had David Dinkins prior to him. Got a black mayor of Washington, black mayor of Atlanta, Maynard Jackson. And we got a whole lot of people, black mayors of Washington, D.C., black mayor of Richmond, Virginia, black mayor of Denver, Colorado. Yeah, right? Is that true? Yeah. And God's nowhere near any of them. What you got, black mayors, and then you got a black mess every which kind of way you look. Poverty, suffering, imprisonment, crime, abuse, like you've never seen before. We got a black mayor, we got a black president, we got a black president, we got a black judge. Our first black woman judge under the Supreme Court, Ketanji Brown Jackson, first black woman on the Supreme Court. Listen, Angela, what's that, Sotomayor, I can't think of the justice, Sotomayor and the other black woman, Latino judge, they black. Latino people are black too. I don't know what's wrong with you. But I guess first black woman, that's be an insult. I'm surprised Latino people haven't rose up and said something about this. Maybe they don't want to be identified as Hamites, but they are. So to say that Ketanji Brown Jackson is the first black woman is an insult to the 2 black women. Sotomayor, what's the other black? What's the Lord have mercy, Pastor McKay? You just kind of reporter. You don't know who the Supreme Court justices are. What is her name? Anyway, but they're black, they're Latino. So here's what I want to say to you. Is it possible for what I'm saying to be true? You said, Pastor, man, you made all this up. Well, okay, all right. All right, I made it all up. But I think what is not made up is that Dr. King led in the wrong direction. I'm telling you. And the kind of communist money, you know, a lot of people in the South accuse Dr. King of being a communist, mainly because he wasn't very much a Christian. You may not like hearing this. You may not like it, and people might want to condemn me and want to put me in a vat of boiling oil for saying this, but I'm going to say it because it's true. During his reign, his own father would not march with him. My pastor, Pastor Stanley, who planted the seed, who was a part of the National Baptist Convention USA Incorporated, some 30,000 churches, refused to join Dr. King. You didn't see black Baptist people, black Baptist preachers, none of them. You didn't see them marching with Dr. King because 30,000 churches in America didn't march with Dr. King. And when Dr. King walked into the Baptist church where, oh man, Clay Evans was pastor in Chicago. Clay Evans pulled a gun on him. Get out of here, you rebel rouser. Get out of here, you rebel rouser. They didn't march with him. It was communist, if you will, and to some degree Jewish media that promoted Dr. King, but it wasn't black people. It wasn't until after his death that people paid very much attention to him. But if you're not a historian, if you have very little education, and of course, if you've been watching Alex Haley's Roots or watching all these black movies on television all the time that promote this racism, I've never seen such racism promoted when you watch these black movies, black this and black that. It's all, Dr. King wasn't what people, even his own father. And I can tell you, he did not have the black church, the National Baptist Convention. The National Black Church was not with him. Now, you may not like that, but go find me some scholar that can tell me that they were, because they were not, because they didn't believe in him. They didn't believe what he was doing. So he led leading in the wrong direction, not only biblically, spiritually, but it wasn't a movement. I tell you what, I got one better for you. Look at Barack Hussein, the long-legged Mac Daddy Obama. Are black people with him? Look, I mean, you think he got it was the promotion of the media that kept promoting him. But did he do anything? Did he move the dial? Did he move the needle? No, absolutely not. And now people talking about Black Lives Matter. I mean, you think after you'd have a black president, you don't need no Black Lives Matter. You've reached the mountaintop, is what Dr. King said he did. You've reached the mountaintop. You don't need no Black Lives Matter now. You don't need no black this, that, and the other. You've reached the mountaintop. You got that man done changed. He done led you from bondage to freedom. But that ain't what happened with that. Black Lives Matter still more shooting, more homelessness. It's worse now than it was before Obama. This is the wrong direction. Let me say this. I want to conclude the lesson today, and next time we get an opportunity, I'll talk more about the second coming of the Lord Jesus Christ, which is the fifth parallel, if we design it that way. But you think about it. Is this what I'm saying possible? And then don't just get angry with me. Study to show yourself. Go get your history books, get your philosophy books, get your religious books. Study the religion of the Zulus, study communism, study Marxism, study the era of Dr. King, study all of that. Study the movements in the Bible, study the prophecies. And then if you're interested, because you don't want to get ran over by this oncoming prophecy of Almighty God, and if what I'm saying is prophetically true, then you don't want to be left out of it because of a hardness of heart. I need to tell you as well that we are still in the midst of our court battles, our foreclosure. I'm preparing to meet the lawyers. We've got a lot of dates coming up this month and next month. And so we're getting ready for that great exercise. I'm excited about the opportunity to serve the Lord on this matter. I want to remind you of that and ask for your prayers and your financial support as well. This week is the third week of May. We got a lot of graduations going on. Dr. Leah Hartfield will be walking across the stage at St. John's University receiving a doctorate degree. This will be the first of my production of my pastoral leadership to raise up young people such as her, born in this church, to the level of a doctorate. And so we're very excited about that. Though her father will not be there, but I will be there to watch her walk across the aisle. Anna Elizabeth LaFleur will be wearing a gold tassel at the New York University School of Architectural Design and Studies. At the age of 20 years of age, she will walk across the stage, one of 40 gold tassels of the entire University of New York University. Thousands of New York universities graduating, only 40 will wear the gold tassel, a very high and elite class of students. And of course, you've got Deborah Love, who will be walking across the aisle at the Juilliard School as one of the star performers at Juilliard's last, if you will, a presentation going back a couple of weeks ago. And just a large number of things that are happening. And so we're excited about that. Want to give a shout out to Minister Honaker. We still haven't worked on your video because we got so many other things going on. But we do want to, and we will get to working on your video, putting some visuals to it. But we do want to recognize a great video put together by Precious Miriam, who says it's time to rebuild a life, and a video that we are going to continue to play, put together by Captain David Lewis, along with the musical talent of Minister Honaker. But let's take it to the top with Precious Miriam, Mr. Engineer.
Searching the seas, looking for what God has for me. In the rubble of my life, I see darkness. I look into my past, there's nothing but broken.
Jesus, will you take my hand? Because I don't understand. I don't know which way to go. A lot of things that I just don't know. Jesus, will you take my hand? Because I don't understand. It's a long, dark road, and I carry a heavy load. Jesus, will you take my hand? Because I don't understand. Jesus, lead me to the promised land. I don't know which way to go. Jesus, will you take my hand? Jesus, Jesus, our love, our love, our love is the only place I know. Our love is all I know.
I'm the Lord's servant. I'm asking now is to give truth a chance. All I've ever told anybody is the truth. Now, just because you didn't understand it doesn't mean it's not true. And I'm asking people to give truth a chance.
All around, you hear the lies being told from the top. Every time you turn around, it just don't seem to stop. When you're ready to move far beyond that same old dance, all you gotta do is listen, yeah, and give truth a chance.
Give truth a chance.
Everybody,
Give truth a chance.
come on and sing it.
Give truth a chance. Give truth
Give you a chance.
I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out righteousness. Welcome, everybody, to the Manning Report. I am Manning. And we've got, look at those skies. This has been a consistent, since we're in the month of May now, right? Since April. And I think that the reason why we have all these clouds, I think Sister Angela Kane, she's our number one top fan, right? I think she's been sending these great skies up here, then clearing up the skies down in South Carolina so they can have beautiful sunny skies and send all that stuff up here. Either that, or by the way, I heard, did y'all hear about this? Yeah. Mike Pence is, he's from Indiana, right? Former governor of the state of Indiana. And I understand he's running for president, right? That's what he says. Anyway, but guess who Mike Pence from Indiana has chosen as his vice presidential running mate? You didn't guess? Well, let me tell you. Deacon Eric Miller. And Mike Pence, right, are running president and vice president. Y'all hear about that? Well, put it on the wire, put it on the drums. You just heard it first right here, exclusive news. That Deacon Eric Miller will be Mike Pence's running mate. If that's the case, I'm cutting Deacon Miller because Mike Pence. Anyway, all right. So let's get started the broadcast. What I want to do is take you back to last week. I didn't get a chance to cover this fully because I was involved in so many things going on last week. But I want to take you back to last week to Tribulation Trump, President Tribulation Trump's town hall meeting with Caitlin Collins there up in New Hampshire at St. Anselm University. And what I want to be able to do is that I want to try to add some context here. The reason why Trump, and I did, I suppose, a video stating that Trump could be president, could win the presidency in 2024. You have to remember, 75 million people, was it 75 or 74 million people voted for him in 2020, right? And I don't think he's lost any of those voters. He could be president from 2024 to until if he becomes president, he ain't gonna never leave the office. I can tell you. If Trump gets there again, he ain't leaving. I can tell you that right now. But he could win, and I want to explain why. Even though a lot of people know that Trump lies like cross ties, he lies up and down. He lies till you believe his lies. And he's not a person of character that I would want to. Even since the presidency, he's become even more gross as an individual. He was convicted, at least found guilty or liable of sexually assaulting E. Jean Carroll. There are 25 other women that says Trump sexually assaulted them. And there is Trump's wife, Ivanka Trump, said he raped her. His wife, the wife said he raped her. There are 25 other women, so E. Jean King said. So I mean, he's not my cup of tea. Now I didn't know all this about him in terms of totality, going back a few years ago, and so I want to apologize for having that association with him. But he could be president again. The reason being, with all that I just said about Trump, the Democrats are worse. They are rotten to the core. When you look at the tranny movement, the drag movement, the abortion movement, the, if you will, racism movement, the hypocrisy, they stink to high heaven. At least it's just Trump that stinks among the Make America Great Again people. He's the only one. I know you got a lot of politicians that support him. People like that skinflint called Ted Cruz. I wouldn't walk across the street to spit on him. That's maybe a little bit gross, but forgive me if you think so. But anyway, but with the Democrats, they got organization like the tranny organization, the drag. They are sick. And listen, if God came down and said, you had better vote for somebody, I don't care if God said to me, I don't care who you vote for, but you better vote for either Trump or Biden. Now God said, now vote. Otherwise, I ain't letting you in the kingdom. I don't care who you vote for, I'd vote for Trump. In a heartbeat, I wouldn't have to think about it. Because the Democrats stink to high. Anyway. So I'm going to go back to that town hall meeting where Trump was lying up a storm. That boy was lying up a storm. And by the way, I think Caitlin Collins, is she gay? Is she a lesbian? Anybody know? Can somebody write me and tell me, is she a lesbian? Is she queer? Is Caitlin Collins queer? Anyway, I think she held his feet to the fire. A lot of people didn't like that, like I said that. But anyway, Mr. Engineer, because I want you to see this video clip. S.E. Cup comes on now, and she says what I just said, but she says it with a different type of approach than, my just putting it down where everybody can get it. I like to keep it real. Go ahead, Mr. Engineer. Run that clip.
We just heard from Republican voters and leaders, John Thune, Young, and also Tom Tillis. Doesn't sound like he added their votes last night. In what way do you think, Jim, that Donald Trump may have added to his coalition last night?
I don't think he added one bit last night. He didn't do anything to help himself in the Republican primary. And if he got past the Republican primary, certainly not in general election.
You're wrong, brother. Go ahead. But my brother, go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Engineer.
He had an opportunity last night to not double down on January 6th, not double down on the election fraud claims, the bogus election fraud claims that he's making, and using, right-wing conspiracy theory organizations as examples of things that are as something that he's using as a basis upon which to support his claims. It's just not what Republicans are looking for right now. Republicans are going to look at that and say, okay, what's changed? Nothing's changed with Donald Trump. And I think a lot of people are looking for something new and accomplish, Republican goals and be conservative.
I disagree. I don't think Republicans are looking for anything new. I think politicians who want to take Trump power is looking to take that power. But the rank and file Republicans from lock, stock, and barrel, they want Trump. They don't want anything new. They listen, all this newness, all this stuff that the Democrats run around here talking about. And I'm not for Trump. Listen. I think the man. Listen. God said he's the trigger of the tribulation. He's a servant of Satan. I think Trump lies more than the devil himself. I ain't for him. I'm just telling you the truth. Listen, people supporting Trump, they looking for Trump. They want Trump because, as I said earlier. Listen, let me tell you something. And you have to have eyes to understand this. Listen, Democrats, they're so rotten. They got Black Lives Matter. They promoting drag shows. They're promoting trannies. They're promoting queers. They're promoting everything. Whatever you can think about, drag out of the barrel of humanity, out of the dregs, man, Democrats are for it. That's right. Plus, they're racist is all I do, and try to hide their hands when they throw their stones. But MAGA people, listen, MAGA people know Trump. They know what they're going to get. With the Democrats, it's all over with. They know what they're going to get with Trump. And Trump, they say he does some good things. Let's not go there. Okay, all right. But go ahead, Mr. India. Go ahead.
Trump. And I think if anybody's looking at this election right now and saying, well, am I going to get in? Maybe I'll get in, maybe I don't. I think last night encouraged them to get in.
Is Jim right, or is Trump on cruise control?
All due respect, I appreciate that analysis, and I'm sure there are Republicans who are willing to say that that wasn't great, because it wasn't great, but he's playing a different game. He's not being judged by Tom Tillis, the MAGA assassin, right? He's not being judged by rational conservatives. He's not being judged by the media and fact checkers. He's playing at his game, and I have some hard truths, earmuffs, if you don't want to hear this. Donald Trump was great last night if you're a Donald Trump supporter. And we saw there were lots in that room. They don't care about the stuff we care about. The lies, the smears, the insults, rape charges, investigations. They laughed at it. They applauded it. I think last night was a reminder that he is not irrelevant. He is definitely not chastened. And there's still a lot of energy behind Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, I'll say, was much more energetic than I expected him to be last
There
night.
was a condition, though, in the statement you just made there, the assertion. You said, if you're a Donald Trump supporter,
Yes.
Donald Trump supporter. If you're not, if you are undecided, how great was he?
Well, if you're, I'm not even sure there are undecideds when it comes to Donald Trump, but there might be some independents and moderates. And listen, he's never wanted to add to the base. He has been systematically kicking out good conservatives since 2015. And so he's fine with the base shrinking as long as it's condensing and becoming 100% Trump pure.
So we heard from Asa Hutchinson last night. We heard from Chris Sununu. Both of them Asa Hutchinson already announced is running against Donald Trump. I am curious about Ron DeSantis, since Ron DeSantis is polling the highest among all the possible challengers to Donald Trump.
By the way, I think S.E. Cope, said a mouthful. Trump voters ain't going nowhere. There's a minute slip between the cup and the lip, and he may not make it to the presidency. He could fall sick, a whole lot of things. He could be arrested. A whole lot of things could happen. But one of the things that is imminent right now is that America is ready to not have him as president again. America is more ready to have Trump by a 2-to-1 margin than they are Joe Biden, and for good reason. And I'm not a Trump supporter. I keep saying that. By the way, I'm going to do a segment. You got to definitely watch out for this. You don't know when it's going to come, but it's going to come on the Manning Report. When it comes, you got to be there listening, because I ain't going to tell you what day it's coming. I'm going to do a report on the Manning Report. I'm going to do a segment on the Manning Report, why Ron DeSantis could beat Barack Hussein Obama hands down if America chose those two for the 2024. Ron DeSantis would beat the socks off Obama. Now, I'm not going to tell you when I'm going to do it, but I'm going to say you got to watch every day. That's a teaser, right? That's to kind of get you interested. Tell your friends. Pastor Manning says that Ron DeSantis could beat Obama. We want to hear how that going to shake out. Yeah, you do. Now, but going back to this, EST Cup said a mouthful. Trump's not looking to build a base. Listen, there are a whole lot of people who may be walking around saying, I'm not voting vote for Trump. And just as sure as they get in that voting booth and they see Joe Biden and they see Trump, they're going to do Biden. Listen, Trump could have a landslide. And I'm not saying that he will. I'm not prophesying or prognosticating. All I'm saying is that Trump people are not going anywhere. And they have good reason. Everybody knows he lied. Everybody knows Trump is lying. Everybody knows, listen, Trump's own wife said he raped her. She took back the charges, but she said that she charged him with it. Everybody knows that, but they don't care. Because when you look at Black Lives Matter, and if you're black or if you're, somewhat Democrat or liberal, you will think I've lost my mind. But if you got any kind of sense of morality at all, well, an organization like Black Lives Matter, when black people kill more black people than you can shake a stick at. Black men are the most abusive towards their wives and children. You can shake a stick at, and other men are abusive towards white men are abusive as well. But when you look at the stink that they're promoting with homosexuality, drag, and trannies, the stink that they're promoting on television, every which kind of way, the rap music. You look at all that filth coming from the Democrats, that filth coming from the left, all that stinking filth. It's like somebody opened up the sewer of Calcutta and they poured it into your house. Democrats, liberals. And when you look at that, you say, well, I'll take the liar. Give me what the MAGA people are having. I'll take the liar. I'll take the con man. Rather than the hypocrites called Black Lives, and black people themselves, the biggest phonies to get in office, and all they do is bootlick the white man and don't do nothing for black folk. Give me Donald Trump and give it to me now. I can't stand these liberals and Democrats. Now, I'm doing that. See, a theatrical analogy. But see, now if you're a liberal, you're a Democrat, you're black, you can say, that man done lost his man. But what's wrong about the man? That man done lost his man. I'll tell you what. By the way, Joe Biden, why is it he's always wearing these suits, got the tight legs, look like pedal pushers. They're so tight around his ankle, you can't even get his feet down. So we're trying to look young or something? What is it with him? It makes him look skinny and, well, all right. Okay, Miss Angela, let's hear the rest of this, then I got to go. I can't take no more of this. Go ahead.
Do you think he does anything with this, or how does he use this town hall in his campaign against Donald Trump?
Look, his super PAC made some comments, but I think until he's in the race, he doesn't have a real basis or a platform to go out and say a thing, right? He can make veiled comments. He can say small things when he's out giving his press, doing political events or doing official events. But I just think until he's in the race, he doesn't have a basis upon which to really hammer away, because he's the sitting governor in Florida. And he has to make that judgment, get into the race, and then has to tie it up with Donald Trump and go blow for blow with.
Do you think anything? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, but to your point, if you're watching that, you think someone like DeSantis or any of those would-be contenders, opponents of Donald Trump, would be encouraged to get in. I am sorry. We all covered 2015, 2016, I saw Donald Trump fell 17 Republicans, any one of whom I probably could have voted for over him. I don't think there's anyone in the field that could go up against that we saw last night.
Well, that was going to be my question. Do you think?
What I want to say, Trump is a performer. There's no doubt about that. That boy wiped the floor with Ted Cruz, Jeb Bush, a bunch of them. I mean, with Marco Rubio, Little Marco, Lion Ted, Low Energy Bush. I mean, he mopped, and he just did it. He wasn't even thinking about it. And unless and I don't know anybody who has that kind of, the only person that could probably stand toe to toe, I don't know, Joe Biden. I know what Trump did with Biden. I have to go back and look at that again. You know who I would like to see debate Donald Trump? Muhammad Ali. That would be something to see if Muhammad Ali and Trump went to toe to toe. I think Trump probably scared of Muhammad because if Trump to get Muhammad Ali mad, Muhammad Ali may dick him. But no, then I don't. DeSantis is not ready for DeSantis. I'm going to do a thing while DeSantis will mop the floor with Barack Hussein Obama in 2024. I'm going to do that. So you got to wait for that one. And it wouldn't even be funny what DeSantis would do to that long-legged Mac Daddy Obama. But on the other hand, I don't think he has what it takes to, to deal with Trump. I'll tell you what, I'm going to tell you why no politician can stand and debate Trump toe to toe. I'm going to tell you why, but you got to wait when I do the DeSantis Obama jig. All right, let's wrap this up. Go ahead, Ms. India. See if there's any more left of this. I'll see if Essie Cup wants to say anything else, then I got to go.
Anything? Do you think any of that gives Ron DeSantis pause?
It shouldn't give Ron DeSantis pause. I don't think it should give him pause. If he's thinking about getting in the race, he should get into the race. I disagree with you on one point, right?
Yeah.
There are Republicans who have said, look, we don't want the nonsense anymore.
Yeah.
We might have liked the policies, we might have put up with it for some time, but don't like the policy, don't like the candidate anymore. And we're looking for something different. And I think he has an ability to go in, if it's a smaller group of candidates, we had 16, 17 people on the stage last time. I don't think we're going to see it this time. I think if you have a smaller group of candidates who are all bullish on Donald Trump, it's a different story because a lot of folks are getting tired. What happens when the next indictment drops, if it drops? Georgia, DOJ, people start saying, okay, is it really worth it to go through all this trouble for Donald Trump when we can win with someone else? Republicans are going to start thinking that way. We're far away from the primary. I think there's plenty of time.
I think to your point, look, there's a difference between donors, political operatives who might be looking at where they can park their support and money and say, I don't want that anymore. I'm done with that. Peter Thiel is in that category of people who are saying, I'm not here for a repeat in the culture wars. I don't think voters are turned off by the investigations and the charges, and I think they're real into it.
You know where I saw it happen? I saw it in this last election cycle on the ground in Pennsylvania when he stuck his nose into a primary election cycle there, and he made a lot of people in the party unhappy.
That's the other thing. They say he lost the primary because Trump suggested people like Dr. Oz and a bunch of other people, and he got beat by that Fetterman. And a bunch of other people in Arizona and several other places. Yeah, see, the problem is that Trump endorsed them, but they weren't Trump. The Trump's endorsements don't really mean, anybody would tell you who's been around the polling business for more than 2 days, will tell you that endorsements are good, they sound good, you can, walk out and hold hands with somebody who's popular, all that kind of thing. But they don't really bring people to vote for you. They don't even convince, people got to vote for you because of you, not because some politician voted for you. So that's one thing. But the other thing is that, Dr. Oz wasn't Trump, and all those people out there in Arizona and every place else that got beat by Democrats and the Republican Party because they don't have what Trump has. And I'm going to tell you about Trump sauce next time we get together. I don't know if you'll come back and listen to me anymore. I don't know if you're going to do that. But don't look at 2020. And by the way, the fact that they say, all incumbents lose. Obama took a shellacking. George Bush got the living daylights beat out of him, and so forth and so on. Well, it didn't work out differently because of Biden. It's just that things don't always work that way. Okay, let's engineer if there's anything else, and then I got to go. That's it? All right, fine, good. All right, listen, everybody. This video is very dear to me because this video was taken last year of people just generally right in Harlem with just random pictures. Now, there are a lot of people in Harlem that, such as politicians, that or people that stole property here in this community. I believe they stole it. They're Japheth people who stole the property, foreclosed on people, took their property, sent them to shelters, have ignitized the black man and fed him full of rap music, made him a stark raving fool. And so as a result of that, you see all this brokenness. I got a sermon I'm going to preach at some point called The Enigma. But I want to show you, since Obama, what the streets of Harlem look like for black people. And this video has a little music to it. One of our church ministers, his name is James Holnaker, he put the song together, and one of our captain, David, put the videos together, the video to the music. But I want to show you what modern day Harlem looks like after the Japheth people lied and said that Obama was the best thing could ever happen to black folk. And then the Japheth gentrifiers came up here and stole the property. I mean, it was the worst, the biggest theft in the history of the world. It's when these Japheth gentrifiers stole Harlem. But look at what happened to the black man. Look at him. He's in great pain. I'm praying for him, though. I'm going to help him. But look, go ahead, Mr. India, put it up there.
Jesus, will you take my hand? Because I don't understand. I don't know which way to go. A lot of things that I just don't know. Jesus, will you take my hand? Because I don't understand. It's a long, dark road, and I carry a heavy load. Jesus, will you take my hand? Because I don't understand. Jesus, lead me to the promised land. I don't know which way to go. Jesus, will you take my hand? Jesus, yes, he's big enough.
Early on in the late 60s, 70s, one of the 60s, 70s, there was a phenomenon when I was working for Procter & Gamble, and not that anybody that what I'm about to mention is involved in this, but it was a thing called wife swapping back in the 70s. And mainly among Japheth people, but among Hamites as well, that they would wife swap. Right, you go to a man's house, his wife, you'd have sex with his wife, he'd have sex with your wife, and then y'all have dinner, and whatever it is you do, watch television. I don't know, but it was very popular, and people were talking about it. It was intimating about it on television. They didn't really have any broad programs, but wife swapping, and then also in the 70s, they had a place here in New York City down on 72nd Street, somewhere in that general region. Off of Broadway called Plato's Retreat. And in Plato's Retreat, you can just walk in, right, and just start having sex with anybody who's in it, woman, man, whoever you want to have sex with. I never went. So all this is the sexual revolution of the 60s, right, the 70s. The 60s and the 70s, the sexual revolution. But, wife swapping and, just indiscriminately having sex with whoever, in a setting, but it keeps growing to a greater level. And right now, there's this idea of having a persona or an aura that makes the sex more exciting. That is to say, that a tranny or drag shows, the reason for drag shows is to sexually excite beyond just a normal, boy meets girl, girl and boy. Now it is dressed up with a imaginary, if you will, costume, and it is now dressed up with a man now acting like a woman. Suppose makes sex more aphrodisiac-y, that's a word. It's a sickness, that's what it is. But I have to tell you that it's very popular. And that's why it's because people are looking for something more than just, they're just having normal sex. They're looking for something more exciting now. And a lot of people say, well, men were born women and women were born men. Yeah. That it seems to me that mentally somebody can be anybody. You can be, I don't know, Charles Manson. Mentally you can be, but physically God made you who God made you. So I think what I'm gonna do, we're gonna look at something, because there's a phenomenon that's been promoted by Barack Hussein Obama. You may think that what's happening now with the assault on the Temple of Democracy, January 6th, and what's happening in the political sphere with Trump and on and on and on. But let me tell you something. That boy Barack Hussein Obama done started something about sex and, adding some sauce to your sex. In fact, I heard there's a man convicted of doing rough sex out in Central Park. This was back in the 70s. Rough sex. This preppy looking boy who killed this girl. And then there's something that you do to make pardon me if this word orgasm bother you, but people are looking for something beyond just sex. So drag, trannies, men with men, costumes, is all now a part of the aura and so it is sweeping, and all of it can be attributed to Barack Hussein Obama in terms of it now being an acceptable course, even taught to little children. So children won't grow up thinking that it's weird. Children are taught that drag is the way to, think about sex. It's crazy. Anyway, look at this. I'll show you this. I'll be right back.
Week by week, Republican-led legislatures across the country are advancing new legislation that attacks the rights of LGBTQ plus individuals. Now, the vast majority of these bills specifically target transgender people. This week in Missouri, the Republican-controlled legislature passed two more bills, a bill that bars trans students from competing or playing sports on teams that align with their gender identity or don't align with their gender identity, and a near total ban on gender-affirming care for minors regardless of parental consent. According to a count by the ACLU, 474 anti-LGBTQ bills have been introduced this year alone, and a number of them already, that number already more than doubles the number of similar bills passed in 2022. As you can see, the number of bills introduced this year exceeds the number of bills totally in the past 4 years, or the 4 prior years. So far this year, more than 50 anti-LGBTQ bills have passed nationwide. Anti-trans rhetoric and substantially, subsequently anti-trans legislation have become central to right-wing messaging among those passing laws at the state level. Advocates for trans rights have been saying for a long time that anti-LGBTQ policy, and specifically this focused, accelerating attack on trans people, is actually all part of a political strategy from the right. When the political right lost same-sex marriage as a central rallying point for the socially conservative Christian right, they needed something else to gin up support and moral panic.
I'm coming back to this. We're not through this a whole lot more. We got this tranny. Well, I say, go ahead, Miss Adrian. Go ahead. No, wait. So listen, trannies, right? You're born with a, let's say, with a male, sexual identity, right? With the male, what a male has, penis, right? And so you cut it off because, or you have surgery. Let's put it that way. Let's because you want to become a woman. Now, let's say, for instance, that you're born in the vernacular of today's common, nomenclature, use a fancy word. You're born black, right? You're born black, right? You're born black. Your mama black, your daddy black, you black, your grandmama black, your granddaddy black, all your sister and brother, they all black too, right? And you're born in the ghetto too, by the way. But let's say, for instance, a pill that you could take, or a surgical procedure that a doctor could do in your lobotomy, that would instantly turn you white, right? Now, it's a surgery. You weren't born that way, but the surgeon found a place in the lobotomy that would make your mind think that you're white, and instantly you turn away. You start talking about, you talk like a pinch-nosed Negro. You be talking like this pinch-nosed Negro, like all pro-wine play. You be talking like a pinch-nosed Negro, right? All these pinch-nosed Negro, like Cornel West, pinch-nosed Negro, Van Jones, though he got the biggest nose on the planet. You be talking with a pinch nose. You would actually be, you think you're white, because this doctor did a surgical procedure to your lobotomy. Now you think you're white, and you start talking with a pinch-nosed Negro because you want to sound white. You start acting white, and when you're walking down the street at night, you and your girlfriend, your boyfriend, or whatever, and somebody said, "Oh, there's some black people across the street over there with a black bubble jackets on." You say, "Where? Let's run." So you start acting white, right? But you weren't born that way. Should there be legislation? Should there be legislation that says, all right, a lobotomy, a surgical procedure took place and took a person who was born black, his mama was black, his daddy was black, his grandmama was black, his granddaddy, his great-granddaddy, his great-grandmama, all his sisters and brothers were black, and he's born in the ghetto. But the surgical procedure has made him white. Now, people are saying, but we know you were born black, and so we're gonna treat you like you black. We're going to ask you, do you play basketball? We're going to treat you like you're black. Even though you're white, you say you think you're white. We're going to treat you like you're black, right? So then you go to the say, well, I want laws passed to stop people from calling me black. I want people to call me white. And I want to be able to go in the white people's bathroom. I want to be able to drink. I want to drink from the white people's color fountain. I want laws that says I'm white. Excuse me, right? Okay, because that's what's going on. That's what's going on. And guess what? Obama he ain't black, he ain't white, he ain't male. Anyway, the male or female. Let's not go. Well, anyway, you get the idea. Come on, Mr. India, let's just take, because we got this woman with all this costume. This man got a voice like a man. Sound like Freddie the Frog. I said, well, hey, Fred Sanford. Go ahead, Mr. India, watch this. Come here for a few minutes.
And they're admitting it. The New York Times spoke to some people involved in the effort. Quote, "We knew we needed to find an issue that the candidates were comfortable talking about," said Terry Schilling, the president of American Principles Project, a social conservative advocacy group. "And we threw everything at the wall." So it started as scattered bills restricting trans girls' access to sports, and bathrooms have exploded into one of the central talking points of the right, using language about children's safety and harnessing conservative anxieties about evolving gender norms. This political strategy puts the rights and lives of trans Americans on the line, and many of them are children. On Friday, I had the opportunity to speak with two parents of trans and non-binary kids. Listen to what they told me.
It's painful to me, as you said, they frame it as a debate or an issue. And I'm sure the rabbi will agree with me that our children's gender is not an issue. And it's not a debate. Their existence is not up for debate. And that's what we've been trying to say for so long. Trans people exist, and we're tired of them being used by these organizations that have such deep pockets, like the Heritage Foundation and the Alliance Defending Freedom. This is not something that's homegrown. This is all completely manufactured because they know that division and bigotry sells.
To discuss the conservative campaign against transgender rights, I'm joined by Amara Jones, the founder of Translash Media, the chair of the Transgender Law Center. She's won 5 Emmy Awards, a Peabody Award. Yesterday, she won a GLAAD Award for her podcast, Translash, because Amara knows a lot about this. So thank you for being with us, my friend. You have been writing about this for years, and I think I want to understand this and frame this a little differly.
Yeah, the person I'm talking
is
about it.
The flavor du jour.
This person I'm talking about that you know, that we went through this entire segment just to get to this person. Now, I think that he was born a man, right? And I think he, had took one of them pills. Well, had surgery, right? And now he's won all these awards, the Emmy Award. He got all these awards out, on how much of a tranny you can be, right? So go ahead, Mr. Engine. I'll have my comments afterwards.
Of right-wingers in this country who need something to cause people to feel morally panicked about, to get to the polls, to activate. When you go out there and you see these school board meetings and these city council meetings where parents are up there complaining about trans kids, this is not something naturally occurring. Most of these parents didn't have any encounters with trans kids, didn't know, don't have any clue as to what's going on here. These are talking points that are provided by right-wing organizations.
Well, I wish it was just talking points. I think that we have to understand that there's actually a vast network of people who are deputized by these national organizations and sent money, expertise, resources, as well as talking points. So if it were just them sort of faxing talking points to, willing bigots, then that would be one thing. But I think that we have to understand that, for example, the Alliance Defending Freedom has something called an ambassadors program, where they are essentially looking for individual representatives in school districts across the country to start trouble around trans issues, and then sending them the resources to be able to take those to scale. And that's one of the ways in which Peyton O'Connor, who is among, if not the first trans person on a school board in this country in Asheville, North Carolina, was run off the school board through one of these programs, and others like the Family Research Council, which has, nearly 40 individual state policy councils across the country that are also behind this push. So it's much more than just talking points. It's a vast network of resources, people, and expertise to make it look local when it's actually a national funded.
I have two questions. How can I phrase this? Is that your type? I mean, sexually, right? Donald Trump said that E. Jean Carroll was not his type. She ain't my type, he said. Somebody else said wasn't his type. Donald Trump, I don't know about that. But is that your type? This Academy Award winner, this Emmy Award, with this GLAAD Award, is that your type? I mean, I mean, if it is what it is, what it is. If that's your type. The other thing is that so trannies, mainly males, right, who become females, then they want to compete in female competition, right? Is there no sense of loyalty? Is there no sense of equality? Because the tranny that was once a male that became a female knows that he's bigger and stronger, got bigger muscles, and God made him all the way around the barn a bigger and stronger person than the average woman. He knows that. He didn't know it. He knows he's stronger. He knows that competition-wise that he's bigger than that woman. He knows it. So is there a sense of morality, a sense of honesty, a sense of, well, I know I'm stronger than you, so I'm not going to pick on you. I'm going to pick on somebody my size, right? I don't pick on another man. I don't pick on a little woman like you. I'll pick on, not the women a little, and the disgraceful, disgusting, or something like that. I don't mean that. But is there such a morality way where one, even if you're a tranny, you should have the discretion or the integrity enough to say, I'm not going to pick on you. You're a woman. You were born a woman. I was born a man. And I'm big and strong than you. I can hit harder than you. And I'm not going to compete with you and then beat you and say I beat you. Where is the sense of morality, honesty, integrity, to say what is just? Right? It's saying, all right, let's have, Wilma Rudolph run with a cheetah, right? They put Wilma Rudolph over here. Y'all don't know her. Who can I find that's recent who's a great runner? I don't know who find her. Somebody was anyway. So let's put a man and a cheetah together, and say that the cheetah. And say, because a cheetah is fast, can run like you don't believe, much faster than a human being. And the cheetah gonna win the race because the cheetah was designed to run. They got a sleek body. They can go up to 100 miles an hour. Man, if he can get 20, 30, he's doing good, right? So the same thing with a tranny. It's like the cheetah and it's like the turtle and the rabbit and the turtle. I'm trying to figure all this out. And then the other thing is that, well, okay. Go ahead, Miss Angela. Go ahead, because I'm going to say something.
Campaign back then.
And why? Because when you look back, tell me how this compares to making abortion
the other thing is that
into
these people whose promoters think they're so smart. So smart. So we're equal. We're equality. We're about equality. We're about everybody love who you with. You got preachers like that. Black preachers, right? Black preachers, white ones too. It's a Baptist church. Well, I am not myself queer or gay, but I believe that you ought to be able to love and marry who you love and who you marry. I am not, I say, all right. I said, okay, preacher, you black preacher, right? Yes. I'm a man of God. I just think that if you love someone and you want to be, no one should prevent you from marrying or loving who you want to marry. All right? Did that you say, preacher? Yes. Pentecostal preacher? Yes. Halabashanda. Anyway. So I said, well, preacher, I love your wife. Can I go to bed with her? I'm in love with your wife. Can I love her? Can I get in bed with her? You see, how stupid you are, preacher. Because the moment I asked to get into bed with your wife, all of a sudden that love ain't so free no more. What a stupid. And I've seen black preachers saying black deacons, they think they're so damn smart. I've never seen anybody as stupid as that. Well, I'm not a queer, and I'm not that myself, but if anyone else wants, okay, can I love your wife? How about your daughter? What about her? Can I have her too? Oh, all of a sudden now a sense of morality kicks in. What a bunch of hypocrites, especially these preachers and church people. And the black ones are the worst. I do declare I've never seen anything like it. Well, I just believe that, I'm a grandmother, and if my daughter wants to marry another woman, if she loves another woman, I just believe that she ought to be able to do that. Well, what about if another woman wants to love the woman that your granddaughter loves and want to take her away? Is that right too? Is that right? Whoa! God have mercy. Have you ever seen anything as confused as all of this? I mean, you're talking about confusion. Call it Obama. That's what you ought to call it. The Obama doctrine. That's what it is. But the other thing is that, why she get dressed up all that, and I suppose got a bow on her hair and everything. I was asking if she played basketball. But by the way, Brittany Griner's back on the basketball court. Have you seen that? Go ahead, Miss. I'm going to get ready to go somewhere. Mister, do we have anything left on this that I need to show? Go ahead, because I've had about enough of this I can take. But go ahead, just with the rest of it.
A central animating factor when it wasn't. In the early 70s, abortion was not a central matter to either churches or conservatives, but it was turned.
Let me wrap this up by saying this. Our courtyard, which is a beautiful courtyard, was dedicated to a deacon who we named Remnant Williams, who was molested when he was 5 years old by his uncle, and he grew up a homosexual. And he came to this church, and he asked me to help him and pray with him to think like a man, act like a man, because he had been treated like a woman by men about 45, 50 years of his life. So we helped him. When he died, we dedicated a courtyard. So a large part of our church building is dedicated to a former homosexual man. I'm not against homosexuals. I baptized a lot of them. I've sit in council with them. They had a lot of them as members of our congregation. I'm not a hater of a homosexual. I try to show them the right way. As Deacon Williams, who was molested, and he thought that, and then all the men around him for the rest of his life treated him like a woman. I showed him how to be a man. So let's be clear about that. But the analogies I gave are true and fitting. And when you see a preacher, I can understand if it's just a regular lay person, but you see one who's supposed to have some sort of relationship with God and some sort of affinity to the Word of God, to the Bible, stands up and says, let people love who they want to love, and then ask him, can I jug your wife? Ask him that, see if that's really what he feels, if he really feels that way. And I know that's a little bit coarse, but I got to go right in at the quick. I know I have to use language. I understand from the first day I started preaching, I have to use language to get your attention. Now, you may say you're sensitive to it, but you heard it before. You heard it. Well, preacher ain't supposed to be. Well, if the preacher can't bring you the truth, then who does? And why do you listen to somebody? Anyway, so the deal is this, is that this thing is getting weirder and weirder. It's going to leave here and it's going to go to animals. I'm going to tell you, it won't be long. By this time, and it's not too long from now, people will be marrying animals. You'll see a man and a dog getting ready to get married. At any rate, let's leave that. I have to tell you that I'm thankful to Almighty God that He has brought us this far. And I want to remind you, the foreclosure's still on. The foreclosure fight, because we have now turned the corner. We've taken the offensive. We've taken the city of New York and the Bank of Mellon to court and federal court in the Southern District here in New York with a $70 million combined $70 million lawsuit. We still have an action in the state court, and we still have an action against one of the attorneys, Mark Anderson, who failed to give us representation, a malpractice suit. So I want you to know that. Don't think because I'm not talking about it or somehow or another that it's still not an interest. It's still a burning entity in our ministry. And we're asking for your prayers and for your financial support as the court dates heat up going forward of things that we're obligated to do. Thank you so very much for all your love and prayers. I want to give Purple Grace. Do we have Purple? If we can find Purple Grace and we can have her take us to the top. She did a thing called Walk On the other day. And by the way, let me say this as well. I forgot to make mention that I need to now. I was up early this morning. Mother one was taken to the hospital by her daughter, 12, on yesterday to emergency room. And they are waiting to place her in a bed. She's having problems with her vision, cataracts, and glaucoma, and a few other problems she's having. So we'll give you an update report. Forgive me for not getting that out sooner to the audience. There's just so many things I'm dealing with, Sister Hartfield, and then just dealing with the foreclosure issues as well. And I try to tell people I'm not as busy as I say that I am, but I am. But I will get out a tweet regarding Mother One's condition just as soon as I get off the air and get the opportunity to send out this tweet. But thank you so much for praying for Mother One and praying for Sister Hartfield and her family as well. And we thank you for all the prayers that you gave and all the loving prayers that you gave during the Mother's Day event with Elizabeth and with others as well. All right, Mr. Engineer, bring us that purple, take us to the top of the hour.
Decreed it, none can stop me. No.